Alright, welcome back everyone to the Watch Later podcast, the show where we talk about smaller YouTube channels and kind of discuss them, offer some constructive criticism, stuff we like, stuff we don't like, and areas we think they can improve. I'm Tony.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Peter.
Alright, and the channel we're going to be talking about today is kind of a different channel from anything we've done recently. Entertainment channel called by the name of Beau Miles, which is also the name of the creator of the channel. He just named it after himself, so good for him, I guess. So Peter, you chose the channel this week. Explain to me why and how you found him.
So I was, when it's like really late at night and you're scrolling through YouTube.
Sure.
So I came across one of his videos. It was like running a marathon in a day. I think that's what the name of the video was, or a mile an hour. I was like, I kind of want to see this now. So I went and clicked on it. I just thought it was like a pretty cool idea of a video. So after I just randomly found one of his videos, I've just been, slowly but surely looking through his other videos and kind of seeing the type of content he makes. I personally like his content. I think it's very cool, so I thought it'd be a good idea to bring it to the podcast because we really haven't reviewed any other channel very like his. Because honestly, his channel is pretty unique.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever really seen a channel dedicated just to like being an Adventureman quite like this one. He's kind of like Bear Grylls, but he feels a lot more authentic to me than that.
Yeah.
He has a doctorate.
We're just gonna slander Bear Grylls like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't find Bear Grylls that interesting. That's just.
Welcome to another episode of Fuck
That. But he has a doctorate in philosophy, so I mean, throughout all his videos, he's kind of having these really deep introspective thoughts, and it really makes you think sometimes. Like the one where he was kayaking around the bottom of Africa by kayak. He says a lot of really interesting things that really are thought-provoking. Like how lonely it is out there, but how kind of peaceful and serene it is. It's very interesting. What did you think of this channel, Brandon?
I thought, well, let's just start with first impression. First impression, I clicked on the video within 5 seconds. I was like, I'm on board. I love his accent.
Yeah.
I just love an Australian accent. And I just was like, this guy, like, you just get a look at his face. It opened up on just his face. He's got big bushy beard, mustache. He's got an Australian accent. I'm like, I'm already in on this guy.
What was the first video you watched?
But I think, let me find it. I think it was Junk Office. Bad quote, make it yourself.
I really liked that one.
I like that one too.
And the next thing I realized, I was like, I think I watched that one fully, and I was like, well, how many subscribers does this guy have? And I was very surprised. At the time, I think he had 169, but right now, as we're recording, he has 170,000 subscribers. And I was like, wow, that's actually very few for how high quality I think the content is.
Yeah, I think he does videos
I've seen a lot of
for
videos.
like TV channels. Like I think he makes movies for TV and puts them on like PBS and stuff. I think YouTube is much more of a secondary thing for Beau.
Yeah, but this is the next thing I realized was this is nothing that we've done before. This is some premium shit right here.
Yeah. So Beau Miles, he's kind of like an Australian version of Bear Grylls. He's an adventureman. He's a Sea-Kayaker. He teaches at his local university, outdoor education. Like I said before, he has a doctorate in philosophy. He's just a really unique and I would say well-accomplished guy.
Yeah.
And what I think is interesting is a lot of that accomplishment is like done in movie form. Like the first video I watched of his was Run the Line, which is basically where he runs this old, what used to be a train track path. And I was watching it, and at first I was like, okay, he's just filming it by himself. But then I realized, like, oh, he has, like, an entire team with him. Like, these are super high production value. How does he do this? It, um...
One thing I saw a lot in his videos, it might have just been the series that I enjoyed the most, and I watched, like, all the way through in one sitting, but he does a lot of these, like, great sweeping shots with a drone.
Yeah.
And that was one thing I noticed really quick is, like, it's even shot in an interesting way. Like, it'll go from him talking to the camera about what's going on, and then it'll go back to, like, oh, now he's kayaking or running again, and then there's a nice sweeping shot of him, and then you get some, like, hand cam, but then it goes back to aerial cam, and it's like I'm watching a TV show on YouTube.
Yeah, he has very good cinematography.
Really
very good cinematography.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And you know, his videos, what I find interesting about them is they seem a lot less about what he's doing, and it seems more about how he's dealing with it. Because that was one of the things I noticed as I started watching more and more of these videos, is I felt like, and maybe this could be a mild criticism of him, is that I felt like the movies didn't do such a great job of showing the experience, but instead showed what Beau was like. They were all kind of like different character studies, I felt, in different unique ways. Like,
I can
what?
I can definitely see that, because I know when I was watching the Bass by Kayak like segment show, like where it was going through in multiple episodes, I wanted to see more of him in the boat, but it was more focused on, once they were talking about, oh, it's gonna be a long voyage, and then it would show about like a minute and a half of voyage clip, and then they'd be on the next down and be like, man, that was really hard.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, I wanted to see more like pretty like landscape shots, I guess, out on the water, and more like, they had a bunch of cameras all over all the kayaks, so I would think they would use more of it, but most of it, I think, just never made it, went to waste. But I would have liked to see more of the actual travel, but I didn't find it detracting too much from the overall experience of watching the video.
Yeah. Well, because honestly, I think that the entirety of his channel, it's not really about his adventures. It's like, it's showing his adventures and how it impacts him and just his certain thoughts on it. But one of the biggest takeaways I've kind of gotten from this channel, I'd say, is the idea that adventure isn't some long lost thing. You know, way back in history, you'd hear about people, you know, going on huge adventures like Marco Polo, traveling across the entire world, I guess. And he kind of, in his videos, it's not about showing him doing it, it's showing that it's still accessible. That, like, you know, to having a great adventure and make your life interesting, you don't have to spend a ton of money or do something completely crazy. You know, you could eat beans for 40 days straight. That's an own type of adventure. So I think that his channel, it's talked about something that's not really talked about anymore. Because a lot of people, they're really like striving for something to do. They're so bored in their life. They're like, I want to go on some sort of adventure, and they go to some random place, and it kind of just like same as home. And so I just
yeah,
like how
it's like they pulled into like the tourist trap, tourist trap, where it's like, yeah, go see this thing, but you're not really experiencing how you want to. It's experiencing how they want you to.
Yeah. So he's taking ordinary things, ordinary life, and making it extraordinary.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely, he has a unique vision of what he wants his world to be. Like the mile an hour thing, he runs 1 mile every hour for like 26 miles or 26 hours, which is a marathon, right? And he's trying to accomplish as much as possible. And it's like, anyone can do that, really. Like, you can walk a mile, you can jog a mile, you can do something like that for 26 hours. And if you do what he did, like, you can get a ton of stuff done. But the problem is people just, you know, they find excuses, they don't do it. And Beau isn't about that, you know, and I think he's trying to kind of show that mentality off more, because I can definitely say, after watching, you know, his full body of YouTube content, I definitely look at things differently. Like, I feel like he's someone who shows people that all these, you know, barriers we think are around our lives, whether it's like, oh, I'm too tired to do this or whatever, those don't really exist. We're making them up, and we're just not going for it, you know? And he just goes for it, and I find that really interesting about him.
The thing I noticed about him was that he's not like a super strong guy. He's not like ripped or anything. He just seems like another average guy on the street, right? Like, he's not on some crazy fitness regimen to do these crazy tasks. Now, he does training, and he talks about the importance of training to do like these really big, difficult travels or whatever. But he is still just he's just like us. Any of us could do that. I think that's another important thing, is like showing that it's not impossible. Like, anybody could really do it with proper training.
Yeah.
And
so I think a good.
Good.
Oh,
no, go ahead.
I think a good video that really showed like the idea of like the barriers we put up for ourselves is like his video a junk paddle. It's like how he made a canoe paddle just completely from just random stuff. What he did is he walked around and he found old things of wood and like picked up some sticks. It's like, see, my student was saying how like it's so hard, you know, to make a paddle because there's no way for me to get wood. I don't have a lot of money, and so he kind of showed him that like, you know, you're not that bound by the restrictions you put on yourself. And he went and was able to make an entirely usable paddle within a couple hours.
Yeah, sometimes
and
you
so,
just gotta go for it, you know? You gotta do something weird. You gotta get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and I really like that's how he kind of addresses a lot of his problems. It's like the solution isn't always easy, but you got to think a little bit harder.
He definitely seems like he just lives life completely outside of maybe everyone else's comfort zone, but maybe he's just right in his comfort zone and hasn't done anything crazy yet in his own mind. Maybe he's just doing stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But one video I want to talk about, because I felt like it was his best video. Maybe not his best video, but his best character study of himself was The Trials of Miles. Now that is a great title. I love that title because obviously his name is Beau Miles. So it's just kind of a sick little title that he takes like from this quote from some book or something. And it's basically him running, you know, this Australian Alps trail, which I guess is comparable to the Appalachian Trail. And one of the things I noticed about that is, you know, at the beginning of that, he seems like, you know, a pretty nice, chipper guy. But towards the end of it, he kind of comes across like a dick. And I thought that was really interesting that he would allow himself to be presented like that. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, I think he's self-aware enough to know that he was kind of whining and acting like a child, but you know, he still pushes past that, and you know, he still makes it, you know, he kind of makes it right with everyone.
Yeah.
And I felt after watching it and kind of processing that, I only liked him more after seeing that, because it showed that he was very perseverant, but also that he kind of is aware that he's kind of a flawed person.
Yeah. And I think that by showing those flaws, it does nothing but make him look better, honestly. Like you said, it makes you like him more. Because, you know, there's so many just like disgenuine people, and that seeing like when they're at their best or when at their worst, like Beau, I think just like makes his character quote unquote better.
Yeah, I agree. I think Beau is a rare example of someone who is truly genuine and isn't bound by anyone but himself, really. Kind of lives life by his own paddle, so to speak.
I see.
Don't gotta go at me like that. Another one of his videos I really liked was My Wife Helene, Bike Rider. I just thought that was a cute video. They seem like they have such a nice relationship. I'd like to see more of Helen.
Yeah, that was cute. That was really cute.
Yeah.
Nice, short, sweet to the point video.
Yeah. And I like how he really addresses very important things. Like, in My Life, Helen, he talks about how, like, the benefit of having someone in your life that kind of pushes you, someone that you can, fight along with, that you can compete against each other, and it just makes everything so much more interesting. I think that, like, that's something that everyone should really think about when going into, your relationship. I just really like how that's something that he actually addressed.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, it's not like they have a perfect relationship. Like, you can definitely see, like, there's some times where they don't exactly seem like super pleased with each other or anything. Like, they kind of seem like a little bit annoyed, or maybe they're a little tired or whatever. But they always come out, on the other side in a better spot than they were, before. And I think I think it'd be really interesting if he kind of made more, even just YouTube videos and not like full-length documentaries with his wife, because I think they have a really unique and very genuine relationship. Brandon, what were some of the videos you liked?
I really liked and maybe it's because the way he did it, but I liked the Bath by Kayak series he did, where he kayaked with a small group, the Bass Strait, which is like a series of islands off the coast of Australia.
Yeah, one of the most dangerous stretches of water in the world, apparently.
Yeah, you have to have perfect weather conditions, and he did it in a way that showed the different things that go into doing one of these great adventures. And because it was cut up, it wasn't so daunting to watch in one sitting. Because one thing that should be said is he's doing these videos, but some of them are like an hour long or getting close to there. And that's just a little daunting. And I'd like that he cut this one up into episodes, because it made it less daunting to watch 6 episodes of 10 minutes instead of one video of 50, 60 minutes. But one thing I really liked was the whole first episode, he's not even on the Bass Strait yet. It's all planning, meeting people that he's going to go out with, preparation, looking for perfect weather, everything that goes into a big trip like that.
I agree. I thought that was really cool, and I felt like that really immersed me in the adventure better than some of his other ones did, because I felt like especially the Africa by Kayak, like 1 second he's preparing, and then a month later he's on the Africa Kayak in like 10 seconds.
Yeah. I also liked there was a part in the middle of, like, it might have been episode 3 or 4, but they just stopped on an island because the weather got so bad, so they were on that island for like a week straight because they couldn't leave. So they're on this island with 2 other people on the whole island. It's like the caretakers of it. And they just kind of have to make do and twiddle their thumbs until the weather comes around. And I thought that was like a good way of showing, like, these trips can go wrong, but they can still be salvaged. You just gotta like waiting around, persevering, and being ready for things like this to happen. So I thought it was almost like a TV series in the fact that it kind of goes up and down, and the endings lead into the beginnings of the next episode. And there was a couple times where one episode would end with Beau like frantically trying to get the kayaks back up on shore because waves, like the tide came in and started like breaking them. And I thought it was a really good way to do the series. And I thought it was if you're just getting into it and you don't want to sit down and watch one of the long 50-minute ones, like you can start by watching these Bass by Kayak episodes. I think that'd be a good starting point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Bass by Kayak is probably, I think it's the best of his work, quality-wise. Some of his other videos I like more just because of personal taste, but I can definitely say that even if you hear about Beau Miles and you know he has some long videos, Bass by Kayak, they're only, like you said, they're only 10 minutes. I recommend those to everyone, right? What he really reminds me of, like, he's kind of like a real life impersonation of Up, like the movie Up by Pixar, where like the theme of Up was like adventures out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't really know where that was going. You just started
I
personifying a
I brought
Pixar
it back.
movie, and I
I
got
brought it
confused.
back.
I'm proud of you.
But I think that's really inspirational, right? It makes me want to go out and do something weird and unique that no one's really doing just for the sake of doing it, right? Like I feel like so many people want to do cool things, but like have grand ambitions of what they can do. But I mean, you can just walk, 50 kilometers or whatever to your office. Like you can do that. That's an adventure. You'll come away from that experience a better, more well-rounded person. It's you just gotta do it, man. You just gotta find the adventures.
Yeah.
So we know that the quality of episodes are there, but maybe we should talk a little bit more about the channel as a YouTube channel. Now, so I have a couple comments. One, very inconsistent uploader.
Yeah.
And I know this probably isn't his first concern. He has a job and he has to plan all these things, and he's got a lot of extra things going on in his life. But his most recent video was 1 month ago. Before that, it was 6 months ago. And then, he'll upload like 4 or 5 times a year. So that's just one thing that if you're here for the YouTube side of things, he's not super frequent, and you don't really know what you're going to get. Because you might get a 60-minute long documentary about how Beau Miles circumnavigated the entire globe barefoot. Or you'll get a 1-minute video called Urban Foraging in the Library. And be maybe a little disappointed, or a 1-minute episode that is the trailer to what's to come. But so he's not super consistent, but one thing that he definitely has over almost every other YouTuber is the quality is always there when it comes to when he does eventually upload.
So yeah, I think it's kind of.
I figured that'd be a good thing to say real quick. Is he's not consistent, but it's there. The quality's there.
Yeah, you kind of have to pick quality over quantity. And for me, at least, I prefer quality. Like, if I had to wait a couple months for a great video and then get, a crappy one a week, I'd prefer to have a great video. So, I think it's a channel that you subscribe to, and you kind of sleep on until you see it pop up into your subscriptions.
Yeah.
And then you watch it instantly.
Yeah, he's definitely not like an influencer or anything. Like, he's not super available. He's not posting a lot on his social medias or anything. I actually really, really appreciate that. I like that his life is not just online success or anything. I think it really proves that he's not just, like he's walking the walk. He's not just talking the talk. He's living life. He's living his life, outside doing these adventures and not online just talking about him. And it's just adds on to the fact that he's a very, very genuine person.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, at least not more recently, a big part of their life is their online presence. And so I feel like, at least for Beau, like, social media isn't that big of a deal to him. Like, for him, I think it doesn't feel as real as some real things. Like, going kayaking for an hour is completely different than watching a video on YouTube for a couple hours.
For sure.
I think he prefers to, have his garden and grow stuff himself. I think his main thing is he likes creating. He constantly has the next thing he wants to do. I think I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think
that's how I want to be.
For sure, and I think that's something I've taken away from this is like, it's not like any adventure you have doesn't count if it's not on the internet and people don't see it and you don't get a lot of views, right? Because he's not pulling an enormous amount of views. By no means, obviously it's a lot, right? Like hundreds of thousands sometimes per video, but also sometimes less than that. And I think
and sometimes 2
Yeah,
million.
on his most run the mile one. That's his biggest one. But it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I think he would be a really interesting person to like sit down and just talk to about like his philosophy of life, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people could learn from watching, you know, his small body of work on YouTube, right? I mean, just talking about the social media thing, like social media in my eyes is kind of fucked up when you think about it, right? It's just a bunch of like look at me, you know, it's a lot of attention, right? It's
Yeah.
and honestly to me it doesn't feel very genuine most of the time. And you could say, well, isn't Beau doing the same thing, right? He's posting the stuff online. But it seems much more thoughtful than that to me. Like it seems like everything every video he has on here aside from the trailers, like they have a point to them, right? He has there's some philosophical undertone.
And also, I think that to a degree, he's kind of combating that. Yeah, he's posting something on social media, but a lot of the things he's addressing is don't be on social media. You know,
Right.
don't watch this video and then stop watching other videos. Like go out and do something. Go have an adventure.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Beau would much rather you not watch any of his videos and go make a paddle. Or, you know, go walk downtown, you know, go walk somewhere you've never been before. I feel like Beau...
He's advocating for you to leave his channel and go actually do something. So anyway, we do this is our podcast about why you should be watching certain YouTube channels. Now we're advocating go away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go away, but listen to us while you're walking.
Yeah. Go down the town, but listen to us talk about YouTube channels that you shouldn't be watching because you should be outside.
That's correct. Yes. Nailed it. Okay.
We found a channel that is conflicting with our views. No.
No, I think we saved that pretty well, Brandon. I think we did well.
Yeah, I just make fun of it, and it doesn't count.
That's correct. That's correct. So one video that I feel like isn't on his channel, but I really wish would be, was he has a trailer called Walk to Work, where he walks to work, but it's like really like a long distance away, and that seemed like a video that should be on there. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, I did. I was actually looking for it on his channel. I was like, huh, he has the trailer, like the preview, and then Q&A.
Did you guys watch it and look at like is there anything in like the like description section that says now if you want to watch this go to PBS or something?
I will go. I'm looking at the description. No, it doesn't say anything. But yeah, his videos really feel like PBS movies, and you know that can be a good thing and that can be a bad thing too. You know, he has a video called The Green Paddle, My First Film, and that definitely feels like, you know, a PBS movie or like on the Create network or something you just kind of throw on. Like that was, I personally felt like that it was the weakest video he has. It was just boring to me. I honestly couldn't finish it. But he's definitely improved from then, right? Like that video, I wouldn't say is necessary.
But that's weird because like
watching for his channel.
That came after like Fast by Kayak and Africa by Kayak.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he actually made The Green Paddle his first film first, and then he posted it out of order because he's like, I figure it's probably time. Because it's not great. He doesn't post in order a lot. Like his first video on his channel is Q&A kayaking Australia's Bass Strait, and then a year later is the video where he actually does kayak the Bass Strait. So people knew about him doing this before it was posted because it posted a year later.
Yeah. Or like the Africa by Kayak thing. I think he recorded that in like 2006 or something, right? Like, am I right on that? Like 2006 or 2009?
I'm not 100%.
It was early 2000s, I think. Regardless, it was a long time ago, and it was long before he uploaded it. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It's just kind of interesting like, it seems like he doesn't necessarily care too much about his YouTube channel. It seems like it's mostly a kind of repository for all the content he's created, and also like some fun videos, like the one he made with his wife, or where he just goes rooting for coins in the library.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk to you guys about was in his videos, what do you guys think about the narration?
Didn't like it, gonna be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
It just seemed like National Geographic stuff that I came to expect, and I didn't think it was. I didn't think good or highly. I didn't think highly or lowly of it.
Here was my feeling on it.
Didn't bother me.
I don't necessarily hate narration in general. I think it can be done well, and I think, you know, for documentaries and in real life stuff like this, it is almost necessary. But I feel like it was weak on the part on. It seemed like it was a lot of him talking about, like, not necessarily philosophy, but like his philosophy or something. And I feel like what I would much rather have had the narration be was like in the moment kind of stuff. The narration's all done in post, but I would much rather have had it be like conversations he was having, or like him monologuing while he's doing it, like in the kayak or something, and stuff like that. I think an excellent example of what a narration done right is in the documentary Free Solo, right? It does have like narration, but it's all like in the moment, and it doesn't feel like it's tacked on. It kind of felt tacked on to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I personally thought that it made his videos like so much better. Because one of the main things I really liked was when he would have narration and then it jumped back into in-person dialogue. Like, I think the junk paddle video again, he was narrating over the video, then jumped back to him into the kayak. It was like, so, the drone's not working, so you'll be stuck with me now. And he's like self-aware of like the narration's gonna make, and I don't know. I just thought that I just really, really liked his narration in his videos. I think that's just my personal opinion.
I think it's really a matter of taste, really.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely not a reason to stay away. I feel like you can definitely find enjoyment in the stuff he's saying. It was just personally not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Another thing that I saw about this channel that I want to see what your guys' take on it is the idea of like simple pleasures that he talks about. What do you guys think about that overall?
I think it adds to the video, and it kind of makes you think a little bit. I know one video I really noticed that in was Junk Office, where he's making a new office out of just like desks from around the college campus that nobody's using anymore. And there's this great scene where he's sitting outside of his office on the side of the street, essentially watching cars go by, and he's talking about how much he likes watching cars go by, and how it's made even better by the fact that he knows like all day he's been working on this office and it's almost done, and he's just sitting there enjoying his tea watching cars. And there's like lots of moments of silence where he just you can see he's just very content with himself, and he has some very good quotes in that section. I didn't write them down, but I do remember being like, wow, that was like a multi-layered quote he just laid down on me, and I think that just came off the top of his head.
Yeah.
So I think they add to the video and make you think a little bit more about you during your daily life and enjoying your simple pleasures.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
And an area of my life that I've actually kind of taken a piece of his knowledge and applied it to my life is food. I wouldn't call him a foodie, but he definitely likes his food, right? Like he likes all sorts of food. The 40 days on a tinned bean diet was kind of a exploration of the food he eats and stuff, and it made me much more appreciative of the food I have, and also much more aware of what I was eating. And an example of that would be like strawberries, right? My family has just started getting strawberries because I asked them to, because I think he was eating like fruit or something in his video, and I was like, that looks delicious, and he's enjoying that so much. I want that.
The sandwich, his last sandwich.
Oh.
I saw that part of the video. Oh my god, I was so hungry. It looks so good.
And it's like, it's another piece of his philosophy that I feel like makes me just want to meet him and talk to him about is, you know, he really espouses just really relishing in what you have and the good things that you have, because you know, you might not have them at some point. You know, you might have to eat beans for 40 days, and then you're just gonna appreciate an apple like way more.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a thought-provoking channel, and it's definitely something I feel like I'm gonna think about, right? But some of these other channels we watched, I don't necessarily think about them after we watch them. But Beau feels different. You know, I feel like you can watch it and you take something away from it, and it like impacts you a little bit more than some of these other channels. And I really like that. You know, it's like any good movie or good TV show or really good piece of art, right? You know, you remember it and you learn from it.
Yeah.
And Beau obviously has a lot of things I think a lot of people could learn and take away.
All right. I think that's a great place to wrap it up.
I agree. Thank you all so much for listening to our podcast. Beau Miles, good channel, good videos, good quality, and a good person. I recommend him. Would you guys recommend him?
Yeah, I really would. No!
No, great guy. So, join us next week when we review a gamer. I'm just gonna tease them. You know, they're gonna come back next week and it's not a gamer, and they'll be like, "What the fuck, bro?" And I'll be like, "Hey, hate T-Dot, don't hate me. I said it."
All right. Thank you all so much for listening, and have a good one. Bye-bye.